New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
And once again, as the thousands cheer in the background, hello there. Welcome from the United States to around the world. It is time once again for another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and yes, guaranteed, always exciting edition of the Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am Reverend Michael Mangus, and I am broadcasting from the top secret radio room surrounded by thousands. And I mean thousands of watts in the very secure concrete bunker located somewhere around Akron, Ohio, that is so top secret. Only one person, and that is my trusted producer, Diego Reyes. Only he knows where it's at. Everybody else, including Reverend Robert Brzezinski, and especially Reverend Robert, has no clue where the top secret bunker is located. Well, hi there. Welcome. We are recording a little early this evening. Yours truly has a wedding rehearsal to go to, and also Diego also has a concert. I'll tell you about that here in a moment. Well, we do have a wonderful show for you here. Please feel free to interact with us by posting your comments here on Facebook and also on YouTube. And again, for all my shy people out there, I know you're out there. Let me know that you're there by sending me an email. That's at pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. So the purpose of our fireside chat here is to talk about contemporary issues from a spiritual new thought perspective. And again, as I keep saying week after week, I want us all to have a new thought about what is going on in the world and our participation in it. We talk about every Sunday about our oneness. So how can we use that oneness to shape the world and also create a world that does work for everyone? Back again, because he's such a wonderful guest. All the way from the great state of Tennessee, it is my friend, the Reverend Jeff Radcliffe. Jeff is an ordained divine science minister and also a former broadcaster. And we will talk about today how to be an ally, or how we can be supportive of all of our brothers and sisters who are LGBTQ and also of color. And we always have an interesting conversation with Reverend Jeff. We were kidding that we call him the irreverent Reverend. So let's see how many times he can correct me today. All right. Again, we're recording early. Diego and his lovely wife, Mercedes, has the opportunity to see a special house concert this evening with artist Jami Lula, live from Reverend Briz's and also Laura's living room. Are there any links to the show, Diego? Do you know? To Jami Lula's show? Oh, okay. Do we have any banners? We have no banners. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Diego goes over to the Brzezinski home because of the food that Laura serves. Isn't that true, Diego? Oh, yeah, he's saying, yeah, great food. So So I also have a wedding rehearsal tonight at 5:30 in PA, so we have a busy weekend. And Diego, guess what next weekend is? Do you have any clue? It is Hamvention, which is the world's largest gathering of amateur radio operators in the world in Dayton, Ohio. And guess who will be speaking at the CSL Greater Dayton on You. Yes, you are a spiritual broadcasting station, Sunday morning. That's May 21st. And that is that world famous New Thought media host, the Reverend Michael Mangus. I used to kid our dean and also our president of Holmes Institute, Dr. C.C. Coltrane, that she used to step on my high holy days by having me attend class during Hamvention weekend. So I'm telling you this because, again, we just may have a best of show next week, or if we get ambitious, that Diego and I just may put together a show for the 19th. And also next weekend, Diego and Reverend Briz will be at Camp Cedar Ridge, restoring the labyrinth that was created by our CSL youth many, many years back. And I know that we'll be getting a live report from there next weekend. And oh my goodness, I almost forgot. Jeff, I almost forgot. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. From the British Broadcasting Corporation, also the History Channel and Wikipedia, Mother's Day is celebrated on the second Sunday of May in the U.S. Celebration of mothers and motherhood can be traced back to ancient Greece and Rome, but the modern precedent for Mother's Day is the early Christian festival known as Mothering Sunday, which used to be held during Lent. Mother's Day recognizes mothers, motherhood, and material bonds in general, as well as their positive contributions to their family and society. It was established by Anna Jarvis, with the first official Mother's Day celebration celebrated through a service of worship at St. Andrew's Methodist Church in Grafton, West Virginia. That's Jeff Radcliffe's old stomping grounds, on May 10th, 1908. My mother, Etta, passed in 2020 during the COVID epidemic, and I miss her. So if you still have your mom, give her a big hug for me, okay? All right. So in the news here from CNN, the United States COVID-era border restriction policy known as Title 42 expires overnight, with tens of thousands of migrants believed to be massed in northern Mexico today. And then the following days will just show how effective U.S. preparations were. Just before the expiration, the U.S. Homeland Security Secretary issued a statement emphasizing that it will not be easier to gain unlawful entry now that Title 42 is lifted. So for all of you who complain about living in either the United States or Canada, realize that there are individuals and families who are traveling thousands of miles, usually on foot, to get to a better standard of living here. And more must be done for the thousands who travel through Mexico from South American countries. Immigration is a spiritual, moral, and humanitarian issue. So what about the Hebrew Bible, or the Old Testament, who taught us that we should welcome visitors and foreigners? Or isn't that in your Bible? So we are all emanations of the divine. When we as humanity recognize the divinity of each person, many of the world's conflicts will end. We're also praying for the folks in Myanmar and also Bangladesh. A strengthening cyclone in the Bay of Bengal is heading towards the world's largest refugee camp. Cyclone Mocha is on course to hit Western Myanmar and also Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar on Sunday, where around 1 million people live in flimsy shelters made of bamboo and plastic. Also in the news, Ukrainian forces have begun shaping operations in advance of a highly anticipated counteroffensive against Russian forces. A senior U.S. military official and also a senior Western official tells CNN. Shaping involves striking targets such as weapon depots, command centers, armor, and artillery systems to prepare for the battlefield for the advancing forces. So our prayers here are with the individuals of Myanmar, Bangladesh, and also the Ukraine. I know that the news seems depressing at times. However, we can know for any area of the world that God or Spirit is still there, and that we assist others through our knowing our spiritual truth for them, and also for sending money, for sending support. We all can make it through the storms of life and also the wars of life. Well, we've had another train derailment near me. Again, Norfolk Southern train derails near Montgomery Crossing in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, which is around an hour away from me. Crews are working to upright several Norfolk Southern rail cars that left the track on Wednesday evening in Newcastle, Lawrence County. Public safety officials say that there was no threat to the public from hazardous materials and there was no need for evacuation or sheltering. Newcastle Fire Chief Mike Kobe knew that someday he'd get a call for a train derailment in his town. Around 11 p.m. on Wednesday, a Norfolk Southern train derailed at the Montgomery Avenue rail crossing near Route 108 in the city's Mahoningtown neighborhood. For most of you who are not familiar with Newcastle, Pennsylvania, Mahoningtown is in the southwest corner of the town. Chief Colby says that the safety of the neighbors was the first thing that went through his mind when he was alerted. He said the firefighters were initially called in for the derailment with sparks and a potential fire, and they discovered 9 derailed cars and no fire, and some on the railroad bridge over the Mahoning River. He said that the material on board some of the derailed cars were soybeans and paraffin wax, which were not of concern. Once we evaluated the cars, we found that there was no hazardous materials from the cars that derailed. Newcastle isn't that far away from me here. Nor is East Palestine, which is 20 miles away from Newcastle. Individuals are still traumatized from the East Palestine derailment. Now, fortunately, in the Newcastle derailment, there was no hazardous materials that spilled, and we must continue to push for safety over greed. It must be the message given to those who transport anything through our towns and also our cities. Well, once again, they're going after LGBTQ individuals. Texas Republicans have filed dozens of bills affecting LGBTQ people. Texas lawmakers this year are considering several bills that could bring major changes to the lives of gay and transgender Texans. Republicans have filed bills that would restrict when sexuality and gender identity are taught in schools, where people can perform in drag, and also what kind of health care is available to transgender children. The bills come during a legislative session in which some conservative lawmakers, emboldened by the growing acceptance of Christian nationalism on the right, are pursuing bills that they believe can create a national model for infusing Christianity into the public sphere. Is this what Jesus taught? Anyhow, tensions between the LGBTQ Texans and GOP officials flared in May when the debate over one bill sparked protests that led to altercations with state police. Also, from Texas, a lesbian bar has been denied insurance coverage because it hosts drag shows. Unbelievable. The Pearl Bar may have to close its doors if drag shows are increasingly considered a liability. Did you read about this week? The owner of a Houston-only lesbian bar says that she was denied insurance because the bar hosts drag shows. A couple of months ago, I was checking on changing my insurance broker, and I was told by an underwriter that they would not insure us due to our drag shows. And I have an email to prove it. Julie Mabry, who is the owner of the Pearl Bar, wrote on Instagram, festival organizers in some states are also rethinking and in some cases canceling events. Last year, Mabry said that Pearl grossed more in sales that many of our clubs have not done in our city. And we have paid over $300,000 in sales taxes alone. That's a lot of revenue for the state, isn't it? And we're just a little old lesbian bar that hosts drag shows, drag bingo, and so on. And if that wasn't enough, Oklahoma governor wages war on PBS station after claiming it's indoctrinating children with LGBTQ content. America's most watched PBS station is on the verge of going dark. Did you know this? The Republican governor of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt, also recently vetoed a bill that would have renewed the license and provided millions in funding for the Oklahoma Educational Television Authority, which is the statewide PBS network that reaches more than 650,000 viewers a week. Stitt took issue with what he alleged was LGBTQ inclusive programming on the stations, claiming to Fox News that it was amounting to indoctrination and over-sexualization of our children. It doesn't line up with Oklahoma values, Stitt told the right-wing network this week in an interview. This is the indoctrinating programming that they have on PBS. The move from the Oklahoma governor to attack the home of family-friendly programming such as Sesame Street, Clifford the Big Red Dog, and Mr. Rogers is representative of a new and quickly expanding front in the culture wars. And Republicans, most prominently Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, have over the last years laced into Disney, claiming the intentionally inoffensive brand is really a creepy company engaged in grooming children with radical gender ideology. And that strain of attack is now spreading to PBS. So I bring this up here, shaking my head, to say to all the GOP legislators, why are you using these issues to incite your base and also institute your form of Christian morality? I don't understand. I read the Bible too. I don't see that in the teachings of Jesus. It's not the drag queens, transgender individuals, or Clifford the Big Red Dog that is the problem. What is killing and harming children is this crazy, insane interpretation of the Second Amendment that says anyone can own a gun. So if you, as a GOP, the grand old party, if you really care about the mental and physical safety of our children, quit going after the LGBTQ community and deal with the real issues, which are gun control. Could you imagine going to school with the threat every day hanging over your head that if someone at your school is angry or that an outside shooter may come and shoot you and your classmates? We all need to speak louder than the voices of hate to keep our children and society safe. Hey there, Diego. I think we're done. All right. Such cheery news. We'll talk more about it with Reverend Jeff Radcliffe here in just a moment. 4 announcements here. Yours truly is parking himself at Summit CSL. For more information, go to summitcsl.org. There you will find information about our wonderful Sunday gathering online at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. Yes, that's in the morning. I know it's early there on the West Coast, but grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso. We do have people from California who join us, and I do believe that we have one of the best services in New Thought. So this Sunday, our speaker for Mother's Day will be the former president of the American Holistic Nurses Association and also author Dr. Carol Ann Drick. So go on summitcsl.org for more information on how to join our Zoom call. And our service is also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page. And also, our Facebook page also has past broadcasts of the Fireside Chat. And yours truly, when he is praying on the New Thought Media Network. Have you checked out our website recently? Well, I think you need to. ntmedia.org. There we have a wonderful schedule. We keep adding programs weekly. Programs that encourage and support your enlightenment. The bringing forth of the divine nature that is you. So if you could, we'd ask for your support because of all the good stuff that we're doing here. Again, of getting this message to the world. You can help us. You can be an ambassador also by, again, going to ntmedia.org/donate. There, give a very generous one-time gift, or what you can do also is become a sustaining donor, give monthly, because those gifts really help us, again, in getting the word out to the world of people's divinity, of their own divine nature. So ntmedia.org/donate. All right, time for a break, and then we will be back with the Reverend Jeff Radcliffe. This is the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network.
Happy birthday, Camp Cedar Ridge. We invite you to come camp and celebrate our first year while in sacred service. May 19th through the 21st, we'll be restoring our beloved meditation labyrinth. Come camp with us for the weekend, and all we'll ask you to cover are the meals. Vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options are available. That's the weekend of Friday, May 19th to Sunday, May 21st. You can bring your own tent or act fast and register for one of our glamping tents or bunkhouse beds while supplies last. We do have limited indoor accommodations for an additional fee. Find more details and registration at campcedarridgeor.org/lab.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are. The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
And it is my privilege to have on our show again the Reverend Jeff Ratcliffe, all the way from Tennessee. Jeff is, he was ordained a divine science minister last summer, and that he continues to do all kinds of sacred ceremonies and also to assist individuals in also revealing their divinity. Jeff, welcome to the Fireside Chat. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning last year's ordination into divine science. But just to make it known that I'm not a relatively new minister, I was also ordained by International Metaphysical Ministries 11 years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you're an old veteran, huh?
I'm a little more seasoned than what it looks like. Yeah. A couple of things.
Yes.
Yesterday marked 10 years since I moved from West Virginia to Tennessee.
Okay.
So I've been here for 10 years. I'm still shocked at some of the things that I see around here because it's Tennessee, and it's a virtual sea of red in this state, with a couple of oases of blue. So it's really interesting being progressive, living in a regressive state.
Well, what if you lived back in West Virginia? I mean, that's pretty red also.
But it's recently red. More recently red than Tennessee. Tennessee was last blue back when Al Gore was here. Yeah. But yeah, West Virginia has kind of swung the other direction. But I'm kind of not surprised. I would not be surprised at that. I grew up with those people, so I know what they're like.
So why is that? Why has the atmosphere and also the political climate changed?
There's a good question. I don't have an answer for. I don't know. I'll have to give that some thought. I'd like to think though that this is like a pendulum swinging back and forth, and that eventually we'll find our way with a little less of momentum. Maybe we'll find ourselves in the middle somewhere.
Well, I hope so too. And that again, it was interesting watching the former president, Donald Trump, on CNN this week in their town hall meeting, and all those individuals. The man blatantly lied about everything. And that what I noticed is that the reason that he seemed so powerful was that he was talking over and also raising his voice over the CNN correspondent. So I'm going, you know what? That's exactly what we need to do. We need to continue raising our voice over this whole sea of lies that's out there, about the election, about what is going on in our country. I could only watch probably about 30 seconds of it.
You watched
So
more than I did. You watched a lot more than I did because I knew it was going to turn into a circus. That's what it was. It was a circus. CNN, I'm going to adjust my camera just a little bit. CNN made the mistake of, number one, trying to have one person moderate, interview, and fact check all at the same time. And as you saw, that was a debacle. It was a disaster. They needed one person to interview him. They needed another person to referee him. They needed somebody else on the stage with him to stop him and fact check him in the moment. And they didn't do that. I will give them credit for this, though. What you did not see, and I read an article about this just a couple of hours ago. Apparently, they only put the camera on the crowd that was supporting him, and of course, you can hear the vocal support, in the background when the camera was on him. But what was not portrayed was the number of people who were, and I apologize, I did not think to silence my phone. I'll do that right now, even as we speak.
Silence your phone when you were on the air here.
Yeah,
no, go ahead.
It is what it is. But this was a Republican that they talked to who said you did not see the number of people who sat there in shocked silence and rolled their eyes and just expressed their inner disgust maybe at the I'm trying to find a nice word, and there's no nice excrement. There's no nice word for excrement.
Okay.
But that's the least offensive word that right now comes to my mind as he was spouting this excrement.
Yes.
So,
I
think when you were asking why did we shift so far to the right politically, I think he emboldened the people. I think people were a little more. I think they were a little less willing to be offensive to other people, to be hateful toward other people, and that particular gentleman, and I can't even say his name anymore. Just I can't do it. Emboldened people to let out their inner nastiness. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. As metaphysicians, we believe that everything that we see is an expression of the divinity.
Yes.
God is omnipresent. God is omnipresence itself. Therefore, God is in each and every one of these people out there. And we understand God. Anything else that we see that is antithetical to God, that is opposite to God, it might be a fact, quote unquote, but it is not the truth.
Yes.
These people are expressing God in a way that I would not choose to express my divinity, my God self, because that's not the truth of them. It's just the fact of what they're doing. And it is my fervent prayer, it is my fervent hope that eventually they will see what they're doing as maybe not really helping their cause so much as just alienating them more from the world in general. But it's my personal goal to remember that's a fact that I'm looking at. It's not the truth. about that person.
Absolutely. We're talking this evening with Reverend Jeff Radcliffe about the news here. And Jeff, what do you think about, again, this Christian nationalism that's coming forth now? Again, I read several stories again about especially about Texas, again, doing like they did in Tennessee, again, restricting drag shows. Also,
well, fortunately, the Tennessee.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't. I get excited. I get a thought in my head and I have to run with it. Fortunately, the Tennessee thing has been put on hold. There's been a stay on that, so it has not gone into effect yet. That's hopeful. That gives me a little bit of hope. But to see this kind of stuff sweeping across the country, it's disconcerting. It's disconcerting because we saw the same thing 80 years ago in Europe. Yep. And they say that those who don't remember history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
Well, some of us are remembering. Some apparently have forgotten, that their fathers, their grandfathers fought Nazis and fought against this ideology that we're seeing a resurgence of.
Yes, and it's also
it's like the greatest generation put their ass on the line for nothing. Is basically what it is.
Well, the one thing that, again, and I pointed it out in the news, is that there is nothing Christian about this.
No, absolutely
nationalism. Not. I mean, again, Jesus, if he came back today, would take us all to the woodshed and say, listen, this is not what I taught you to do. Mm-hmm. And that, again, I taught you to love one another. That's what I taught you to do. And I also taught you to bring about the kingdom of heaven here on earth. And so, again, people pressing their morals or their interpretation of the Bible and also of Christianity on all of us now. Unfortunately, there is a section of Christianity that's more progressive that says, listen, we need to take the Bible, and it's a serious book, but we need to not take it so literally. Again, the Bible's been used over the years to deny women from being in the pulpit, to support slavery. Mm-hmm. All right. So, I mean, there's passages there about how to treat your slave.
Domestic violence. Yeah. Spare the rod, spoil your child.
Yeah, that's from, I was reading Proverbs, that in Proverbs. Yeah. And so a lot of these things, again, what we're finding out, I think that they did the best that they could back then, based upon their own knowledge and also understanding of God. However, again, that over the years God is not stagnant. Our knowledge of the divine, again, has grown. So to go ahead and to label this as a Christian nationalist movement, really, again, it really threatens everyone's religious rights.
It does. It's fascinating to me, and I've never been able to understand this, even when I was a fundamental evangelical Christian, and I was at one time. It never failed to amaze me how many people wanted to take literally some things that were meant to be taken as metaphors. How does one make the leap from writings of a Middle Eastern nomadic culture 2,000 or 3,000 years ago and try to shove them into 20th, 21st century America or 21st century world now, the same rules do not apply. It's like you said, we have grown in our knowledge of spirit. The knowledge was always there. Moses could have built a rocket ship to the moon if he'd wanted to, because the knowledge was there. He just did not have that capacity to understand it. Throughout the course of 2,000 or 3,000 years, we've grown in our ability to do that. Evolution's a thing, because we are proof that we are not of the same mind that we were back then.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they are still stuck with that mindset from Old Testament times. The Bible was never meant to be taken literally. Jesus taught in parables. A parable is basically a story with a moral. It's a point, and they still teach that way in the Middle East today. They still use parables to get their point across. The parables are not just, the Good Samaritan or the prodigal son, things of that nature. You can take anything and make it a parable.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is just look for the meaning behind what you're looking at. And that's where we as metaphysicians come in, because that's basically the definition of metaphysics, is to look at the cause behind the effect that you're looking at. Now, the effect that we're looking at is the Bible and some of these verses in it. They're not taking anything into context, these people, these Christian nationalists. They're not looking to see the cause behind what they're reading. If they'd stop to do that, then they'd realize that Jesus gave them two commandments only: love God and love your neighbor.
That's
it.
He
said, if you do that, everything else falls into place. All those laws of Moses that you're so fond of bringing up when it comes to LGBTQ people, they go away. They don't matter, because you're loving God and you're loving yourself, and you're loving your neighbor as yourself.
And that I think that in this country, individuals, especially the Republican Party, and I don't often mention about differing parties here on this show, but it seems like, again, that the Republicans, or some part of the Republican Party, is saying that we're grooming their children to be gay or trans, when the absolute opposite is true. And also that it also smoke screens the real issues that we are facing, including a gunman coming into any one of our schools and then shooting up the classrooms and then killing innocent children.
My son graduates with his master's in secondary education this weekend from West Virginia University.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I'll take that on face value, but I have to stop and think, Aaron, what the hell are you doing? These days, there was a story in the news here just the other day. Kid had her phone out in the classroom and was using Google to find the answers on her test, and the teacher took her phone away from her. Okay. She got mad and maced the guy. Wow. Pulled out a can of tear gas and just sprayed him. It's not safe to be a teacher, and those people who can do it, God love them, God bless them. They got more guts than I do, because I'm not going to tempt spirit by putting myself into danger. But if some of these people can do that, if they have enough within themselves to want to elevate today's youth, then they deserve all the kudos in the world. And they deserve a heck of a raise.
Absolutely.
Whoever would have thought that being a teacher in the United States of America would be as dangerous as being a foot soldier in the Army or in the Marines.
So, what do you think about this notion that we should arm teachers?
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. These people are trained to educate people. They're trained to educate our kids. They're not trained to be bodyguards. And just to kind of piggyback on this, did you see what Lauren Boebert did the other day?
She does so many things. I just, they go one ear and out the other. Diego's going, oh my goodness. Go ahead. This is probably really good. Go ahead.
She and Marjorie Taylor Greene are running neck and neck. And what's funny to me is I always think of what Iyanla Vanzant said, and I think she probably got it from Maya Angelou. When you see crazy coming at you, cross the street. Well, here's Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene running neck and neck to see who can get there to the finish line first. Lauren Boebert, the Republican from Colorado, the representative. Y'all must be so proud of her. Co-sponsoring
Diego is choking in the back.
Co-sponsoring a bill to make the AR-15 rifle America's national gun.
No.
Can you believe that?
No.
Excrement. Can you believe that? And yeah, so
have people lost their minds here? I mean, seriously,
they've lost something. I have no idea what's going through these people's heads.
Again, when your son goes to school to teach, or that we send our little ones, we don't know if that's the last time that we're going to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the challenge that we have in this country. It's not the drag queens that are giving. Drag queens don't kill people. They may insult them really well, but they don't kill people. Trans people don't bother people. All of this stuff is smokescreen to the real issues of the violence that's going on, and that, again, that the GOP, including the representative from Colorado, Diego, he's saying, oh my goodness, spreading these crazy lies about, again, the guns. See, and that's the challenge that we have in this country. I don't believe that we're going to get rid of them completely, but we can take measures to go ahead and to background check these individuals, to again require training, to be stringent about who in the hell that we're giving a gun to. Rather than going to these gun shows, they have AR-15s lined up in all of these boxes for people to purchase. Yeah, they do a background check, but again, it's not extensive enough to, we're giving weapons to individuals. And again, we don't know how they're going to be used. So instead of, like in Serbia, they had 2 incidents last week. Immediately, their president, their legislature, immediately says enough's enough. We are going to curb it. We are going to put into place gun control so that this does not happen again. That is not happening here in the United States.
No, it's going in the completely opposite direction. Did you see the other day the federal court judge in Richmond, Virginia, who stated that a law banning licensed federal firearm dealers from selling handguns to young adults under 21 is a violation of the Second Amendment and was unconstitutional? His reasoning behind it was, if you're 18, you're allowed to vote. If you're 18, you're allowed to join the military. If you're 18, you're allowed to serve on a federal jury. What he didn't stop to mention, though, is that just because you're 18 doesn't mean you're allowed to drink. You have to wait till
Right.
21 to do that.
Right.
Used to be 18 because that's when I came up in that era. But there are some things that you're not allowed to do until you're 21. So why is it unconstitutional to say that an 18 to 20-year-old cannot purchase a handgun or any weapon for that matter? Why is that unconstitutional? But yet it does not violate their rights to limit their consumption of alcohol. Like that's going to stop kids anyway. But why is that different from the laws on the books that say you have to be 21 to drink?
I wish everyone would read the Second Amendment. It says again that we are given the right to own weapons again, so that as a well-regulated militia, that we could defend ourselves against the government. The challenge here again is that Second Amendment has been taken completely out of context, and that there are people that says that we need to go ahead and to outlaw the Second Amendment, to go ahead and just completely get rid of it, and to regulate handguns in this country and also AR-15s. Children are being murdered, and we're talking about silly stuff about drag queens and also, trans people. And again, it's not silly, but it's none of their business. For people who are conservative, what business is it of a person's sexuality, and whether or not that they should seek medical care?
Yeah, remember the good old days when the Republicans stood for stuff like that? Keep the government out of my business. Let me do my thing. Now they're the ones who are trying to regulate everything. Keep your hands off my ovaries. Keep your hands off my guns. Keep your hands off my this and that and the other. Now they're all up in your business over everything. I don't get it.
So what are some solutions here, Jeff? What are some of the things that we can be doing?
Oh, this is Princess Lily Rose. She says hi.
Hi, Princess Lily Rose. Oh, pretty dog.
What's the answer? Well, we need to stop complaining. Oh, we need to have term limits on our politicians, and we need to do this. We need to do that. What we need to do is vote out every incumbent. This is my personal opinion. Vote out every incumbent and put new people in there. New people who are going to, number one, the people who are in office right now, they are not going to vote for term limits because that's going to put themselves at risk.
Right.
Yeah. So they're not going to do that. So we have to do that for them. And we can do that by voting them out.
Yes, you're right. And
we need to basically stop whining and actually do it. I think that the reason the Republican Party has taken off so well in West Virginia, in Tennessee, where they're both outnumbered by Democrats, believe it or not, because there's such a super majority of Republicans in the state house here in Tennessee and in West Virginia that people say, well, what difference does my vote make? I continue to send my Congress people, my representatives, letters stating my point of view. And I get these nice little form letters back from these Republicans who's like, oh, look, yeah, we'll take your thoughts into consideration if that ever comes up for a vote, when you know damn well they don't. Because my views, my opinions are the complete opposite of theirs and would be the end of them in office if they were to, to actually take my opinions into consideration.
There's a current book out, and I don't have the author, but I just purchased it to put on my stack of reading. And that is that we need a spiritual revolution. And the author was, he grew up in the Baha'i faith. And so he says that the views and opinions, again, don't necessarily reflect that. But what he's saying is that we need, again, an inward awakening within each and every individual, so that, again, that we can start doing what we need to do, again, to get rid of, to at least put all this hatred back into its place. And again, to outlaw hatred. Again, that, our former president went ahead and said it was okay to go ahead and to be hateful. And so that's the reason why we have it here in our country. We have just a few minutes, Jeff. Is there anything else you would like to leave with us?
There is a couple of things. Here, you can have it. Thank you. Rainn Wilson, is that who you're talking about?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I thought so. I have the utmost respect for him. But what he's also said, we need a revolution. We're hearing the same thing from the other side. We need a revival. It's a God thing. It's a sin thing. It's not a mental health thing. It's not a people with their anger out of control and, just going off the deep end. They're calling it a God thing. And that we need, somewhere in between all that is a happy medium. We need to find that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now you also mentioned earlier on, now we're going to totally shift gears on you.
Okay.
Going back to Mother's Day.
Okay.
The very first commercial radio station I worked at was in Grafton, West Virginia, a quarter of a mile down the street from the chapel where Anna Jarvis started the first recognized Mother's Day service. And they don't use it. They don't use it so much anymore. It's more of a museum than it is a church these days, but they still open it up to hold services on Mother's Day. I've also been to her house. Anna Jarvis lived just a few miles outside of Grafton, and her house is there and it's available to tour. It's a really cool place. My mother passed away 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. Her favorite flower was the pansy, and her favorite color was blue. I found this, and I don't know if you can see the gold on it, the gold text. It says, "Mom, there's a million reasons to celebrate you, but pop-ups of pansies, and there's my mom's favorite color when the blue one."
All right. We have to go. My producer is saying, wrap it up here. Reverend Jeff, we'll have you back again. Thank you so very much for being our special guest tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Diego was putting below about the Jami Lula concert. You can go on YouTube tonight and see it. Jami Lula live tonight from the Brzezinski's living room. Again, just go ahead and copy that, and or you can see the replay a little bit later on. We got to go. Thank you so very much. Again, support us here at New Thought Media Network, ntmedia.org/donate. We really appreciate the support. On behalf of Reverend Jeff and also my producer, Diego Reyes, I am Reverend Michael Mangus, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.